So the other day I stumbled across this video of this guy talking about how much money you should have at each age. And I'm like, oh yeah, like let me watch this, right? I was like, let's see if I'm behind, right? You know, see if I'm caught up to societal standards according to Instagram Reels. And I'll let you know if I had this amount of money at this stage in life.
This is how much money you should have saved up at every age. All right, when you're 16, this is the first time you can get a job. You can make your own money. It'll be fun to start spending it and blowing all your first paychecks, which is fine. We should all do that. But you should be able to save up your first $1,000 at the time you're 16.
I'm gonna be honest, at 16, I did not have my first job yet. All I had was saved Christmas money. I don't know how much I had at 16. I didn't even have a bank account yet. I definitely did not have $1,000 at 16, so let's get into 17 here.
By the time you're 17, if you're really about this money shit the way you say you are, you should have some side hustle going along with your job, and you should be able to save up $10,000 within the time that you're 17.
Soon after I was 17, I did have $10,000 because I was saving for a car and I had my first job. And I really, you know, when you're in high school, you don't really need to spend any money because your groceries and rent are paid for.
Now, by the time you're 18, you're a full-grown adult human being now, so you're expected to take care of yourself. This is when you should touch your first $100,000 saved up. I remember my first honey bun. There's no better feeling on earth than when you hit that 100K array in the bank account, take a screenshot of it, print it out.
Yeah, he remembers his first honey bun.
I remember my first honey bun.
Bro's just having so many hundreds of thousands of dollars in his bank that he's just referring to them as honey buns now. So I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I definitely had this. My trust fund totally hit at 18. It actually had $100 million, so totally ahead of the curve here. This is totally realistic, and this guy's broke, honestly. I mean, 100K, this guy's parents must be poor if that's all they gave him, because my parents gave me 100 mil when I turned 18.
19 and 20 years old, these are probably going to be the years where you're catching the most momentum and really should be working the hardest on whatever business or whatever it is that you're doing. So get somewhere between $250,000 to $500,000. The world is online now. All you have to do to make money like this is just click buttons on the internet, and you're old enough to be able to do so.
He's kind of right. All you have to do is sort of press buttons on a screen. I think what you really need to do is make sure you have proper account set up. So whenever your parents give you access to your huge trust fund, like you actually know how to take money out and spend it. Otherwise, you won't really have access to the money. And I think that's what he is referring to by pressing buttons on the screen. Cause like that's what I did when my parents gave me my first Billy. You know, my first honey bun was kind of at birth, but my first Billy was whenever I was at 19. That's what I call the billions. I just say it so much that's kind of how it goes now.
By the time you're 21, this should be when you touch your first liquid $1 million. Having 2 commas in the bank account is fire. You feel better than everybody else. You can simply just mog everyone and do whatever you want. And if you've really been hustling since the time you're 18, it's a lot of time you have to be able to save up that amount of money. So you should be able to get to $1 million by the time you're 21.
Yikes. Touching your first liquid $1 million at 21. This guy is poor. That is embarrassing. Not until you're 21. I mean, honestly, I guess liquid, maybe you're investing aggressively, but even then, like I get a 0.01% dividend from my stocks and it pays 300 million. So this guy is honestly just so poor, it's kind of embarrassing. So I thought this was a joke when I first saw it, but no, this guy's being serious. I looked at his account, he's a drop shipper. He has multiple videos on his account talking about like what watch you should have at every age, and like 18's a Rolex or something, and it's just ridiculous. And he had a car one, and I think at 21 it was supposed to be you're supposed to have a collection of supercars.
Now 22 and up, we should be entering the hypercar realm and also just starting to stack a collection right now. So this is going to be your Lamborghini SVJ, a Bugatti, shit like that. Maybe you have like a couple rolls going on. So
I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of weird. Instagram and all this hustle culture stuff, like the Miami course seller culture, has kind of made having nice things extra cringe. It's made just all this stuff that wasn't cringe, super cringe. Now, like if I see a Mercedes, or I guess a Brabus, which I'm pretty sure is what the car is called, now I'm gonna think of Miami course sellers trying to scam people. Another mega cringe thing that's come out of this whole hustle culture is people that like to pretend they're working way harder than they do, posting these really dumb videos. Like here, I'll show a few.
People just change, okay?
I'm 13 stressing like I'm 30 so I can be rich by 21. Spoiler alert, this kid's pile of cash was probably his parents. I mean, you can't get a job at 13 unless you're in another country that allows, child labor. But they're US bills, so we all know that it's just the parents. I honestly think like this whole culture around, oh, I have to work so hard. I work harder than you. I'm trying to get rich by 30 because I'm trying to get rich by 20 because having all this money at 20 is so much better than at 30. I don't want to hate too much because that's a kid. He's just susceptible to like crap he sees online. He probably saw Andrew Tate selling Hustlers University back in the day and didn't really realize it was just him scamming people. The thing I do have to say though is if you're like over the age of 18 falling for this, you're kind of an idiot. And I found a video again similar to this and I was like, dude, what are you doing? I'm 25 stressing like I'm 40 because I want to be rich before 30. I will win. Dude, no you won't. If you were grinding that hard and you're 25, you could have been an investment banker, which is like the highest paying job, and started to live some extravagant life by now where you're also working like 80 hours a week. Like I swear, it's always the people online talking about this stuff that are also hating on school. Like, oh dude, you don't need good grades to be rich, and just coping so hard with everything. And most of these people are faking their money. I mean, the good thing about this though is like there are obviously actual signs of like having class that people can't really hide. So I think if these people were actually rich, they would not be appealing to little kids, So it's just kind of dumb. If you don't have a liquid million in your bank account by 21, you are kind of a bum, not gonna lie, and you should probably get that checked out because you're falling behind pretty far.